Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we're going to be talking about the upcoming Uma banners that will be coming available alongside the New Year support cards. And that is going to be coming with Haru Urara, New Year, as well as TM Opera and her New Year alt. And so this is going to be one of those double banners where you get that with all of the New Year's ones. And so we're going to just go ahead and take a look at these Umas, and just like I do with all my prior videos, we'll take a look at what their stats are, the skills they have, and what I kind of think in terms of the pull priority they have regarding kind of everything else around them. And so first we'll take a look at Haru Urara. And one of the big things, I know a lot of people, because she's kind of an Oshi pick for a couple of people, and they like to try and build her, especially for the tracks she is not designed for. This one is going to be better than the normal one, although she's still going to have the same affinity problems that you have with her normal version. But when you take a look at her stat bonuses that she has, it is 20% power and 10% guts. I always like power bonuses, at least currently in the current state of the game, because speed is always one where if you bring a lot of speed cards, you can cap at 2 or 3 depending on your luck. And then having to hit speed a little bit more to cap it with a 20% power always feels pretty good on being able to get a fairly high power on that Uma. Alongside now as we're using a lot more wit cards. And guts is an okay little bit of bonus. I would prefer that to be probably on wit over guts, but not too bad there. When you get to her aptitudes, it's Urara. So she's a dirt short miler who is primarily going to be late but can be end. A lot of people love to try and build her for turf. And then if you really want to build her for a turf medium or long, have fun with that currently, because that's going to be very, very difficult. But if you wanted to do the Arima Keenan challenge for her bonus, you got to get turf and long. And she'll be a little bit easier to pull that off when you take a look at her skills down here. Because they're a little bit better. They're not good, but they are a little bit better. You have 1/14 times the charm is the alt. Give max effort when far from the lead on the final corner. So that one already, right there, already sucks. The final corner. So if you're building her for the Arima Keenan, she's far back. At that point, you really want to be closer to the front. But as an end closer, possible. But moderately increased velocity steadily for a duration proportional to the distance from the lead. So she does get a scaling speed increase based on how far back she is. The problem is, if you're really far back at that point, especially on some of these. Now, for shorts and miles, it's a little bit better. But if you're going for that crazy one, it's not that good. But it is at least a speed skill versus a heal, like the other one has. And so this can be pretty good for pushing up. Now, you have Prudent Cushioning alongside Unyielding Spirit and Fighter. Fighter, not really all that good. Prudent Positioning, you can kind of use that combo with Dodging Danger if you want to build her more towards the front, but nothing all that crazy there. When it comes to her Awakening skill, Shake It Out, it's a late race heal, pretty bad right there. Center Stage, I mean, it's a cheap skill for team trials, but other than that, not really necessary. Snowy Days, and then Hard Worker, which is another late surger skill that's not all that good. Very, very gamble. It is an acceleration that trying to time it perfectly is going to be very difficult. And if we take a look down here, that we're not going to take a look at her evolved skills yet. We'll look at that last. You got the skills from events, Fighter, Pace Strategy, and Long Shot. I mean, she's going to probably be a long shot, so hey, you have a good amount of speed you can get from that. And so overall, nothing too crazy on her. When we look now at the evolutions, look at me turns that Center Stage to now have, so if we compare it here, it's just that lane movement speed that you get off that. Now you add in a increased target speed as well, so she can be a little bit faster to help her better position. If you do the second one, it now gives her acceleration, which I think acceleration might be better in that case, but you get the choice between a speed or an acceleration, so that's always good. When it comes to evolutions down the line, when we get that, you basically, if you meet the requirements for both of them, you get to pick which one you want. And then you got the Betweener or Late Surger skill here, Hard Workers buff. And so this one switches it to now be an acceleration and increased target speed. versus just an acceleration. So you can kind of get a little bit more out of it since you are gambling with that acceleration to try and get it at the right timing. But if you don't, I mean, you still have the speed that can help push up a little bit. But other than that, it's still Urara, still not very good, but she is better than the other one if you really like to use her. But when it comes to this banner, the big one, if you're going to pull on it, is going to be Vortium Opera O New Year. And that is because she is a meta inherit in terms of people wanting her ult. Kind of the same reason you would have with Ogre Cap's Triumphant Pulse. Now, when you look at her stat bonuses, you got 14% speed, 8% stamina, and 8% wit. It's not too bad. The only thing that I've just learned to kind of not like bonuses to speed. While it makes it very easy to cap speed, especially if you have weaker cards. So I know for free-to-plays, it's really nice. But when you're really trying to get that min-max stats with power and power sparks, I find the bonus on power over speed's way more useful. Because one problem you'll run into is you're going to cap speed way before power. And now you're basically hitting speed just for the sake of getting more power, even though you don't really need it. It's been definitely the case I've seen trying to build my Umas for sprints. But when we look at what her aptitudes are, A in turf and E in dirt, meaning you can build her for dirt. If you get 10 sparks in dirt, good, she's at A, she's ready to go. And then A long, A medium, same thing with mile. You put enough mile sparks in her, and now she can do miles at A. Now I will say, the dirts that are miles will be difficult just for the fact that you need 10. You only can get 18 sparks, so one of them will only be able to be a B, while the other one would be an A. And so you need to get lucky with inspirations for the mile dirts. But there are some medium dirts. And then when we take a look in strategy, of course, Opera O, A pace, A late, and she could potentially be a front runner if you want to build her that direction. Now, what is going to make her really good is going to be her unique skill. And so this one is basically another Triumphant Pulse type skill. Increased velocity for a moderate duration when in the front part of the pack with 400 meters remaining. Now, if you activate at least 7 skills have been activated, it's now going to be a greatly. Just like Triumphant Pulse, so normally it's 0.35, but if you meet that condition, it's a 0.45, which for when inherited is a 0.25 for 3 seconds, which is pretty significant. Conditions aren't that hard to hit on it, and down the line, definitely getting that 7 skills will be pretty easy to hit because you can just have so many. Right now, it's a little bit more tricky because we're limited on skill points, but that will become less and less of a problem as we get further down the road. So overall, pretty good skill, pretty good inherit, even if it's not good right this second because of this lack of skills. Now, when it comes to her innate skills, you got Pace Chaser Straightaways, and then another one, Feature Act, which is another... they slowly start bringing in more skills over time. I don't know if we've seen this one yet on global. At least I'm not recognizing it. I'm pretty sure it's brand new, specific to her. Yep. And so this one is slightly increased velocity when positioned towards the front upon approaching a late race. And all this is basically meaning in the second half of the mid race, she's randomly going to get a speed increase, which could potentially mean speed carryover at the right timing. But because it is a long specific, that is very unlikely. But it is a good skill to kind of help push yourself forward and pass people. So overall, pretty good skill there. Corner recovery, of course, inner post proficiency. Swinging Maestro, she is kind of designed around longs, as you can kind of see with some of her other skills. So nice to have the built-in heal. Winter Runner, so pretty good for Arima Keenan, which I believe it'll always be a winter one. And then Headliner, which is the gold version of Feature Act. Increased velocity when positioned towards the front, reaching the late race, same thing. But it is a 0.35 instead of a 0.15. Then she has built-in non-standard distance, another thing that's good for Arima Keenan. Fair to pass and tether. And that's pretty much it on TM Opera O there. Let's take a look at her evolutions. So evolutions for Swinging Maestro, she has 2 different variations of it. Big heal, basically, just turn it into an even bigger heal at 0.075. Or her second evolution to it reduces the heal, basically makes it a white heal. But now she gets a 0.35 speed increase. So if you're not needing it, Arima Keenan's a good example of a track where there's a high chance you probably might not need it, or you might need a smaller heal. You can upgrade it to this to get a big speed skill for the mid-race alongside a little bit of recovery. And then the evolution of the other one turns it to a 0.45, I think, from 0.35 to 0.45. So, pretty good there. And that's pretty much everything with her. And so, TM Opera O is one of those Umas that I feel like is going to be a good pickup for inheritance and making grandparents out of because of how good the skill is. But it's by no means a must-have, especially now because it's gonna be a little bit harder, especially for free-to-plays, to build the Umas that have the skills to really take advantage of that greatly with the 7 skills. As well as the fact that we have a lot of other good stuff coming out around here. I mean, we have Fukukataru Speed coming here very soon. We're going to get free pulls on there. Now, I'll be making my video for this banner tomorrow. Now, I will say most people, this is a pretty easy skip for them as well, though. But just know that one's next. When it comes to Umas, though, we have... of course, you have the general one where you can pull over anybody on pity. Easy skip for most people if you've been playing and have a decent roster at this point, because you pretty much have to do 200 pulls if you want to pity a specific one you want. And then you have Valentine's Bourbon not too far away, as well as going into Find Motion, Kita-san Black, and make a new track banner with Narita Top Road and Admire Vega. We don't need to go farther than that. Just know there's a lot of big stuff that'll be coming out not too long away. And so if you don't have a lot of carrots, this is a good time to kind of continuously save up to prepare yourself for a lot of the big pulls coming into make a new track. But overall, if you get TM Opera, it's still not a bad pickup, and you eventually will utilize her as a parent and inherit. But that is pretty much it. Yeah, that's all there is to it. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.